Just wrap up last week. Obviously, we let up too many plays, big plays. Again, those big hitters kind of get you. I thought we played a little better on the defensive front. And offensively, we had a couple of good drives in there. We made a few too many mistakes, which seems to be pretty typical of this young football team right now. But I thought our kids played hard again. They battled. We'll take on an Army team this week who's, I think, much improved on offense. They run the ball extremely well. I think they're the #1 ranked rushing team in the country. Appear to have all their players intact this year, and they did a great job last week against Rutgers. Had them 7-7 in the fourth quarter, and really turned the ball over a couple times. Really had an opportunity to beat Rutgers. So we're playing a real quality opponent, obviously at their place, and we've got to come out and be real physical on defense, and we've got to be able to score points on offense, and you can't play from behind against a team like this. So we have our challenges, and we're looking forward to the football game. Any questions?
What about that offense they run, the rushing of the wishbone? How difficult is that to prepare for?
Well, it's very difficult to prepare for. We did a great job against it last year. I ran that offense. I started college coaching. I ran my high school program. I have a pretty good familiarity with it. So I've spent all week long, on the defensive side, and have an opportunity to run the scout team, which is I enjoy doing that. So I think we give our team a pretty good look at it, and that's half the battle. You got to give the defense a good look. You got to cut block, which we're doing, which some people don't do because it's dangerous. And you just got to be mentally tough. You got to play assignment football, and you can't be worried about all the different bodies coming at your legs, and you got to just be mentally tough enough to hang in there and try to get them off the field, as opposed to letting them wear you down. So it's not a scheme that you see. It's a one-shot deal, so there's no bank. And that's the problem with it. They're smart in what they do. They run a scheme that people aren't familiar with. They do things that bother defenses, and they try to possess the ball so you don't get many cracks. And it's well thought out, and it's proven to be very successful for the military academies.
Steve, which of your guys did you have playing scout team and mimicking Trent Steelman?
Well, we had our whole second offensive line giving our defense a look the whole day, and Connor Riley came out and played quarterback, and I worked really hard with him on his footwork, on all the different rides and decides, and so I think we gave him a pretty good look yesterday and today. Today was full pad. Today's the first day they really felt people coming at him and cutting him. So we came off the field with that. No one got hurt, which is a good thing, because sometimes guys get nicked up when you do that. A lot of coaches won't do it, but I just believe that you have to do that. And we've got another day tomorrow that we won't be cutting tomorrow because we don't wear lowers, but we certainly will be coming at them full speed. So it's a race against the clock, and we're a little nicked up front. And that's not that adds to the problem, because some guys that we need to play are not going to get these reps.
Steve, could you talk about your opinion on the Hawaii situation now that they've announced that you won't be playing?
Well, we're disappointed. We had an agreement in principle, and there was a great opportunity for our football program, for their football program, to play an extra game, to get a couple extra weeks of practice. Temple University did everything they could. I mean, we were set and ready to roll, and I guess they have their own issues out there, and so they just weren't able to come through on that. But I know Bill and our administration was 100% behind it, and we're really willing to spend the money, whatever it took, because it was the best interest of our program moving forward. And it's a shame that it didn't come together, but it's not coming together, so that's where it is.
How about the other thing about the bowl eligible part of it that could have, that part of it as well? Could have given you an extra game even.
The biggest thing was the extra game. That was the biggest thing. It was all about extending your season. It's a great trip. It's a great opportunity for a young team to keep practicing and playing. The bowl eligibility piece of it, things are all still on the table right now. We play 11 games this year, and we just got to worry about beating Army and taking the last 2 games one at a time right now. There's still opportunities out there.
When you said the bowl eligibility thing's on the table, is that because there may not be enough teams that get to 500?
Right. And we have an 11-game schedule.
Do you feel that presents you an advantage as opposed to maybe 5 and 17?
Yeah, for sure. But I'm not real worried about that right now. I mean, I really, we have such challenges ahead of us right now. We're playing so many freshmen right now that our challenges really just lie in this game that's right in front of us. That's why the other thing was great, because I knew it would extend us 2 more weeks of practice in another game. That's where my mind is. That's what I'm on. So I'm on Army right now because I know what I watched last week against Rutgers, and I just think Army's really good. I really do. I mean, I think they're really good at what they do right now in that offensive side of the ball. So it's that's where my whole thought process is right now, and it has to be because when you play as many freshmen as we do, we're fragile a little bit. Because what happens is you're constantly trying to stay on top of them and get them as much experience as you can, and trying to create leadership and all that other stuff. And it's a full-time gig right there. It really is.
Steve, to slow them down, oftentimes it looks like other teams simply just have to make them turn the ball over. Ray Maple's very talented, has some fumble issues. Can you talk about what you guys are working on? Are you doing extra things to maybe try to strip the football, or is that something you're focused on?
I mean, we're really working on right now it's all consuming to play assignment football and have your scheme set up where any adjustments you make, someone has to have the dive, someone has to have the quarterback, someone has to have the. It's so consuming because think about, like, you got yesterday no pads, today pads, tomorrow shells to get this done, to format this whole thing with no bank. So it's difficult, and so really that's our whole deal right now. It's just getting that down pat, and yet playing as fast as we can play. So I thought we had a good day today in terms of day one in the pads. Trying to, I thought the scout team did an outstanding job today of really giving them a pretty good look at it. So that's a big piece of it.
Steve, could you talk about Brandon McManus and what he's given you guys this year?
Yeah, I mean, he's an outstanding player. He made some, great on kickoffs, done a great job punting. He's kicked some key field goals. I mean, he's one of those guys. When you talk about seniors that play their best football, your senior year, you should be playing your best football, and you should be a highly accountable guy, and he's been that guy.
Steve, you have so many young guys, and you're going through a tough stretch, and you always talk about the grind. How do you keep them from getting down, or because they're young, does that work in your favor that way? Because maybe they don't know any better.
I guess yes and no. I think it does work in their favor a little bit, but it's really, I think it's just all about, your job as a coach is to motivate the team, and you hope your seniors can help motivate your young guys, and that's really important. But because the young guys, they're going to go out and play, but they're not as vested as the older guys. Like the young guys, to me, they bounce in and out of these games a lot easier. They feel like they got 100 tomorrows. And the older guys start to realize that they don't have very many tomorrows. And it's up to the older guys to help these young guys appreciate how fragile it is. And obviously, I've been, the coaching staff's been working real hard at that, because I don't know that we have, that real leadership right there right now. So that's what we're working on.
Do you get a sense that this stretch is taking anything out of them, or do you still get the same feeling like a month ago, that they're still pretty much where they were as far as up here?
Well, I think the young guys come out every day and they're excited to go out to practice, and they're getting better. I mean, they really are improving every day. That's exciting to watch. I think the older guys sometimes have a harder time managing all of this right now. And, I just think it's all about improvement, and it's all about the guys love to play the game, passion. We had just a tremendous, like our walkthrough environment before the game on Saturday we did at the hotel. It was so much energy. There was so much excitement and energy. And I just was really I was really fired up about it. Like, oh, look at this team, man. This team is really resilient. I think our team gets the fact that we have great days ahead of us. Now, like I say that. When I say great days ahead, I'm not saying it's not just a one-year project here. I mean, but we're going to be better a year from now, and then much better 2 years from now, and we'll just keep building on this thing because we have the class to do it. And I think they get that. They see that. I think that's what's exciting to them. If they didn't see that, you know, maybe it wouldn't be so exciting. You know, they saw the guys we lost. Last 2 years, we lost a bunch of guys, and we had to reload this. Our strength is in the freshman and sophomore class right now. That's where it is. And we got a section of good juniors in there too. But that's our strength. But we had very dominant personality last year. And, you know, so that's just the cycle of football. We're going to have to reload it, which we're doing. And the pain and the disappointment that they go through helps them become that veteran, tough football team as you move forward. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years.
Much like what last year's team maybe went through 3 years ago?
That's kind of cycle, you know. And sometimes you hit these cycles in college football because there's a certain class that I call it wakes up on third base. You know, it's just the nature of how it's how the flow goes, you know. Some groups struggle to you know, they hit a single and then a double, you know. Then other groups come in and what do they know? They know bowl games and winning, and they know that, right? And they come in and zippity-doo-dah, and next thing you know, you got dominant personality classes, and then they get confronted with, you know, that kind of deal. And, you know, I saw it happen at Florida. I mean, and it's called the natural cycle of teams. It's just watch college football. It's the way that goes. And so this group of talented, we got some good juniors and very talented sophomore and freshman class. And they'll grow from all these experiences. They got the double whammy at them. The double whammy was, first you got to reload, but then we had to play up a level, and we didn't have a chance to adjust our non-conference schedule, and we didn't get our 12th game, which created our bye weeks early in the season, and it all lumps into one thing. It's just the way it is. But they'll grow from that. They will grow from that. This team will become a tougher, you know, more hard-nosed, more, you know, really burning to want to get it back, so to speak. And we're not that far. So that's exciting. So that's, when you ask me that question, that's where why I see excitement in the eyes of these guys. You see some disappointment in some of the eyes of the older guys, because I think the reality hits them that you got, you know, like 10 days of football left, and, you know, it is what it is. You know, and, you know, I challenged our older guys today. You know, we got to play a great game on Saturday. We need to do that. You know, and here it is. It's your opportunity. What do you want to get done here? You know, so be interesting to see those dynamics play out.
Do you think the quarterback thing, will that be a good thing this week, sorting itself out, or you know, because that can sort of work either way too.
Sure can. Sure can. I just think that the bottom line is that, you know, I feel like we need a spark. I feel like, you know, I want to see some energy at that position right now, you know, and I'm just a big believer that, you know, no one should ever feel that secure per se. And I just think that we got guys waiting in that position that want reps, so I'm going to give them reps out here. And let's see who has the best week of all. And then, you know, I'll go from there. And, you know, one guy might play, and if that's not happening well, I'll pull him and put the next guy in. Because my goal right now is I want to see guys performing under the bright lights, so to speak. Because that's really where you measure things. You know, it's hard to measure it in spring ball and in preseason camp. It's all a part of it. But, I mean, at this point, we've got guys now, I need to see them with the bright lights on. And I want to see who's got that you know, that it factor, if you will. And so, you know.
Is there a chance it could even be Kevin?
Yeah, Kevin's getting ready to play.
Okay.
Juice is getting ready to play. Chris is getting ready to play. You know, I said this earlier. I think I might have said it, I don't know, in my press conference, media, Big East thing. You know, I mean, Chris actually made some great throws in the game last Saturday, and balls were dropped. And, you know, the quarterback gets too much blame and gets too much praise. And that's the way that is. And, you know, the supporting cast around him is very young. Chris has done a great job. I mean, there are so many times he's trying to get guys lined up out there. And, you know, so, I mean, he's done some really good things, and he's doesn't have quite the same supporting cast in terms of experience that he had a year ago. I mean, we have a receiver who's playing in the NFL right now, a fullback that's playing in the NFL right now, and an veteran offensive line, 3 of which were in NFL training camps. And, you know, and so he's had to absorb that. So in fairness to him, that's been difficult on him. And you know, so I think he's done some good things. But I think Juice came in there and gave us a little spark in the second half. And I think, you know, Kevin's come in and given us a couple of little sparks. And I just want to see, these 3 guys compete. I want to see them in the bright lights compete. I want to get a better feel, you know, because that's a critical spot right there. And, you know, so that's my decision, my goal. I'm gonna let that play out.
Steve, you said yesterday that, you know, at the end of the week you take a look and take
Yeah.
everything together and make your decision. But, you know, maybe by Thursday or Friday, somebody has to be taking the majority of the snaps in practice, right?
It's been rotating. I've been rotating that, you know. And I probably won't share what I'm going to do, you know. I'll probably just you'll see what I do when the game goes. It's probably how that's going to go. But I've been rotating that. That's been a rotating thing, who gets more of the 1 snaps, you know. I'm real committed to doing what I said I'm going to do right now. So, you know, because I want these guys to have the opportunity to go out there and showcase. Now, what does that mean? If a guy goes in and he has a hot hand, I'm not going to yank him out. I'm not going to do that. But if a guy goes in there and struggles a little bit, I'll put the next guy in. That's what, you know, that's what it is. I got a big picture in mind here. You know, it's not just right here. It's got to be here. It's the best I can control that. You know, given the scenario that happens in the games.
Since they're all juniors, is this sort of, you know, a prelude to what we're going to see in the offseason, where these guys are going to be battling it out through the offseason as well?
I don't know that. No, I'm more in an effort to really make sure we have the right guy going. That's not to say that, you know, they're always open. I mean, I can't predict. I've seen guys make great strides in their senior year, but I want to evaluate them off of some real game snaps. I don't want to make evaluations solely off of practice snaps. I've had 9 games to evaluate Chris, you know, and more, you know, this season. And I want to get it, and I've gotten a few glimpses of Juice. I want to get some more. And then, of course, Kevin's gotten less, but he just got here. So that's harder. His total command of everything is not as great because he just got, I mean, that's hard. That's hard to do. And then, of course, given the fact that you're giving Chris so many reps early, he's not really getting very many reps. But he's come a long way.
Is Matt about as healthy as he's been since like South Florida, or is that?
No.
Okay.
But well, no, let me rephrase that. Yes, but he's not healthy. I mean, he's you know, like, you know, he's out there today and he just turns the wrong way and he tweaks that thing. But that's a 2-month injury, you know. Most guys would have done what he's done. He's just so darn tough.
You wonder what you did wrong that you couldn't get both of them once this year, just about on the field at the same time.
You know, I tell you what, it's funny you brought that up. I was thinking about, like, last night I woke up at like 3 in the morning, you know, and I was just thinking, like, it's amazing this year, you know. We didn't have Montel for the first month of the season, you know, and I was just like, you know, that's the way it goes, you know. It's just the luck of the draw, you know, and then we lose Boyle, and then we lose Matt. I mean, between Montel and Matt, 2 of the top playmakers on our team, and probably 2 of the top potential playmakers in the conference. When have we had those 2 guys healthy at one time, really? I mean, it's been so limited, really none. And my thing is I roll from week to week. I got to get ready for the next game. Sometimes I don't really have a chance to really process it all, you know what I mean? Because then that just sounds like you're whining anyways. But it's just, I look back, I'm like, are you serious right now? Like, we didn't even have Montel for the first month of that season. Are you kidding me? I mean, you know, that was hard. I mean, because that guy's a dominant football player. I mean, at Temple, you need to play with your dominant. You don't have a ton of those guys. You got to be able, you know. So then he gets healthy, and then we got this 1-2 punch, and we're preparing for a 1-2 punch, and then the 2 punch gets, you know, Matt gets hurt, and we can't get him on the field at the same time. We've tried a couple of times, but it's been difficult. And then last week, you know, Montel's hurt. He's out of the game. I mean, we can't get him into the third quarter, you know. And then Matt tweaks his. I mean, it's just amazing, you know. So it's the way it is. Sometimes it goes that way, you know. And you got to deal with it.
What's the Harris status now?
Well, I don't know exactly, you know. He's doing better, but you know, it's kind of day to day. So you know, not a ton of practice reps really out there, you know. And I got to be careful with Matt because he's still not 100%. So they don't get as many practice reps. So Jamie Gilmore gets a bunch of reps. And then we're trying to do a couple different things. What happens is you get a little distracted. You know, we got Jalen Fitzpatrick going a little bit last week. It was in an effort to kind of, have a little something else going in case we had some injuries. But what happens is you try to do these little things to compensate, and it takes you away from what you really want to focus on. But you got to be prepared for all these contingencies, if you will. And then of course Boyle's not back, and we keep reshuffling this line, and that's very disrupting to a young offensive line. But in the big picture, we'll be way better because of it. We really will be. Because that makes a line veteran and better, but in the process, sometimes not so much. In the process, it's very disruptive. And I would say that's what happens, Now, what I like with the O-line is they're very physical and they're playing really hard. But, there's too many mistakes up there. Consistency is way, way off. It's kind of like the receiver position. We got these young guys in there. You saw the spark of some of the plays they can make, but their consistency is way, way off.
Steve, on a Big East matter,
Yep.
there's a report that they're going to finalize the conferences.
Sure.
You guys are going to be with a lot of the Western teams like
Yep.
Boise. How about just your thoughts on that?
Well, that was our agreement going in for the first 2 years, and I'm good with that. I mean, that was part of the deal. And we're going to go in there, we're going to play on that side for 2 years, and then that'll change. And then wherever they head from there, whether they still go east-west or they go red-blue. I mean, I'm not involved in all these meetings here, but for the first beginning part of this thing, we will be on that western side, and I'm excited to do that. And I think that'll be good. We'll still have some of our regional games in here, and I think it's a great new beginning, and excited for it.
What about, like, in recruiting, talking to recruits about, hey, Boise and places like that?
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, you're talking about some great trips and some great programs, and you're playing nationally. It's a national perspective. Kids enjoy that. When I was at Notre Dame, we played kind of a national schedule. I know it's a little different scenario, but I mean, it's kind of a cool deal. You're going places you've never been, and it can be very, very exciting. I think the future is really exciting. And we're just really thrilled that we're a part of it, and I'm really looking forward to bringing this young team into that whole, new beginning, because I think it should be nothing but growth,
It's going to help you now that the 5 conferences are going to get one of those positions in the 6 bowls.
Yeah, it's perfect. It'll work out great. It's really going to be no different than it's been. It's a lot about, to me, it's a lot about a little. I mean, honestly, so. The Big East would be well represented every year in that situation, and, unless we were underperforming as a conference, which historically that's not been the case. And so I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be a lot of exciting times ahead. And Temple's in a terrific, terrific place right now, really. And we're in the infancy of rebuilding into a national program, and it's exciting, but there's going to be some, along with rebuilding, there's painful moments along the way. And I knew this going in, and many of you did too. And it's all part of it. And it's not, we live in this instant society. We all do, want results, want that. The reality is it's going to take a little time. It's not going to be a 1-year project, But with the commitment of this university towards where we're headed, it'll happen. People around here sometimes too frequently want to revert back to the past, but there was nothing resembled. The commitment wasn't there. The facilities, the commitment, the financial commitment, nothing was there. This is a university-wide commitment to a conference, which is going to, pay dividends financially and everything else to be able to keep growing our programs. So, but I just caution everybody that it's certainly not a 12-month process. It's going to take a little bit of time. As I said to our team, and I believe this with my whole heart, our day will come. Our day will come. And it's not about if, it's just about when. And that's yet to be determined. I don't know that answer. And I'm not, that concerned about it, as long as I know that we're all heading in the right direction, which I know we are. Anything else? Appreciate it, guys.